You're in charge of the video content. You're supposed to know this stuff, Amber. Hey, we're live! We couldn't wait on this. This needs to be talked about today. This is a discussion that we couldn't edit. We couldn't sit there with the card for a figure being edited. So, Amber, how about you give them a little bit of pre-story before I start reading off of my iPad here?
So for the last few months, I'd say, Wizkids started releasing this article series called Design Insights, which has actually been a really brilliant thing that they've done, and it's basically taking us into the designer's headspace and their war room, and told us how they come about making the changes that they've been making. And they've been making some really amazing changes to the game, streamlining keywords, streamlining rules, overhauling rules that didn't make sense. And then also giving us an explanation as to why they've been doing this. And it has been a really positive change for the game. And everybody that I know has had a really great response to these articles coming out, even to the point where brand new players or returning players, we've been like, hey, go check out these articles because this is information that you're going to need to know. And it's information you're going to want to know. Now, that being said, one of those said articles dropped today, and it felt like a bomb went off.
All right. So I'm going to start reading the article right now, and bear with me as it is pretty lengthy, but we'll stop on each because they listed out 4 goals, and we're going to talk about each one as we go, okay? So sit in there. It's going to be a bit. All right. So dear HeroClix players, as part of our ongoing effort to communicate with you more openly, we're using this Design Insight post as an opportunity to pull back the curtain on a few major initiatives we have underway. Under each goal will be an example or two to illustrate how we plan on delivering on those goals. Cute! Goal 1, make the game easier to learn for new players. We've been looking forward to this. When we first started talking about what is important to improve HeroClix, everyone agreed that making it easier to learn for a new player would be great. But we also heard a lot of worry about taking away what makes the game fun in order to make it more accessible. The work we are doing is directed at making the game more accessible, easier to get to to the best parts, while keeping all the interesting, fun, and challenging depth for the veteran HeroClix player. The first initiative under this goal is specialists versus generalists. Let's start with what we mean by specialist and generalist. When we look at designing a style for a character, we look at all the capabilities of the character from the source material as a palette from which we can choose. A generalist dial is a collage of all the colors on the palette, while a specialist dial highlights and accentuates a select number of colors from the palette. Internally, we call this a slice of the character. Why do we think specialists need to be more of a part of the game? Specialist dial designs offer players, especially new players, options for characters, especially popular characters that are easier to build teams with and around, as they will tend to have relatively low point values, easier to determine their role, as their dials will be economized towards a specific set of powers or game functions, easier to pilot, as their dials will tend to have fewer powers and abilities to track. Specialist designs can focus on a standard power, special power combo strategy, or just designing a team so you can field more of your beloved characters, each with their own place in your strategy. Conversely, a generalist style offers a wide variety of HeroClix powers and abilities encompassing more of a character's abilities from the source material. There will, of course, be dials with between these two extremes, but in any given set, there will be some from each end of the spectrum. For those HeroClix players who have been for a while, you recall that there are many dials that would have met these criteria in previous sets. So really, this isn't a new idea, but rather an idea that needs to be reincorporated into the game. Okay, so if you've played any of World's Finest from the pre-release, you know this is a thing. If you've played Nick Fury, it's a thing. If you've been playing HeroClix at all and haven't had your eyes closed, this is a thing we've known about for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. So this is less a new thing, and more or less, in their defense in this, for a while, there were no specialist dials. There was a little period about Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, but there
wasn't a character you brought on for Prob. There wasn't a character you brought on for Perplex after Wolverine and the X-Men. It wasn't a thing that was happening for a little while, and it seems to be coming back. Not a problem. Filling in small gaps in teams is always a fun thing to do, just finding the power that your team needs, right?
Especially now that they've kind of scaled down on the points that we've been seeing, where we got a lot of really low point specialist guys in World's Finest, in the Witches, and the Warlocks, and the Druids, and the Demon, and generic
Yeah.
specialists.
Also, and I think we've discussed this on both the Meta Lab and on Metafix, and just we've observed this in general. It feels like resources are getting dialed back a bit. And as a result, we need characters that will fill in the slots for increasing combat values, etc. That resources might not be for a little bit. So, okay, awesome. Onwards in the article, unless you had more to say, Amber.
Nope, that's good.
All right. So, and then we end off with, additionally, we believe the idea of specialists also helps us with our next goal, provide more interesting choices, which is goal number 2. Providing specialists provides interesting choices for an expert player in team building, specifically the points versus utility trade-off. I think I just actually went over that. Perhaps it's more important to have flexibility of a generalist figure with more powers or the position of the specialist. It also allows for different slices of a character to be featured, which will keep the characters themselves interesting set after set. Instead of choosing which 1 or 2 generalist X-Men you get to put on a team for a game, you can field a team of X-Men, each with their unique specialist role. Additionally, since specialists will also tend to be lower point values, teams can have more figures, which offers interesting trade-offs in force construction and map positioning. So X-Men have always kind of done that, right? They've always, like back in the day at least, they were always specialized characters.
Yeah, but now we're going to get specialized versions of characters. If you think of the specific character like the X-Force Wolverine versus like Wolverine and the X-Men Wolverine, where you get the stealthy, sneaky assassin versus the charge-in berserker assassin.
But I was also thinking along the lines like characters like Storm and Cyclops filled a specific niche, which is they're very spongy, but they're also really hard at hitting. They're glass cannons, basically, of the team. And in the days of old, Infinity Challenge Explosion era, the X-Men worked really well as a team because they had all of that functionality with individualized types of characters. And then later on, Wolverine and the X-Men kind of went a little wacky with it, but at the same time, characters are still specialized when they're X-Men. It's kind of the way the game has always been in that case with regards to that, in my opinion. And I think they're just reinforcing that they're taking some styles of old and bringing them back. Not everything has to be new freshness all of the time, right? So
I think also the point variations on them where it's something that I can't remember when I mentioned it, but for the longest time, being a really, really huge Superman fan sucked in HeroClix because there was a time in the game where find me a Superman that was less than 200 points. This latest set, we got 4 at 90 points. That was unheard of.
We have a 50-point Superman now.
Yeah, we have a 50-point Superman. We have a 100-point Superman. We have a 75-point Superman. We have 4 at 90 points that switch between each other. This was something that you wouldn't see 5-10 years ago in this game. And I think this is a really great direction to go with characters that we have 50 to 60 to 70 different versions of. Stop making them at the same point value.
I still have an issue with the 4 Superman and Batman, but I discussed that on my live show yesterday.
That's a different issue.
That's a different beast altogether. Anyway, they end it with, which leads us to our next goal. Goal 3, make maps matter. If they didn't already, you're okay. With the plethora of resources, high point cost characters, and other game effects, actual positioning and movement on a map has, in some instances, become less important. It is, excuse me. It is our goal to ensure that maps always matter and are built into the game with everything we do. Tactically, you'll see more selective assignment of improved movement, improved targeting, and any other traits, powers, abilities that circumvent the core aspect of movement and positioning. Incidentally, we also looked at the player's interaction with the actual physical maps on the table. This led us to develop a program to bring premium maps to the market that we hope players will find to be a nice upgrade from paper maps. Below are a few photos of the 3x2 roll-up maps that will be coming to the market in the summer of this year at a price of $25 manufacturing retail suggested retail price. Manufacturer's suggested retail price. Look,
MSRP.
$25. That's pretty good. These durable premium maps are printed on non-slip neoprene, do away with the creases found in our old folded maps, and provide a great rolling surface. If you want to get your hands on them early at Worlds, we're planning on having a few opportunities for players to win a map at select tables. So, yeah, they had a little picture of the maps. It's cool. We were familiar with this for the ROC. Now Wizkids is jumping on board with this. And I guess they're using the same provider that makes the mats for Dice Masters. And that's a really reasonable cost of $25 a pop.
Yeah, it's really good for especially the durability of these maps. They're really nice. If you've seen any of the the rock ones. If anybody of you guys are subscribed to HC Atlas, this is the same kind of map you're going to get. Now, before we even get into these premium maps, I want to talk about the first part of that, and that is making the map matter again. I don't know how many times you have heard me and Jason, either during our games, during Dial It Up, during Metafix, where we say, well, this character ignores the map. Because that was a thing. Once improved movement and improved targeting came in, where it's just like, I don't care about the map because this character sees through all of it. And it got positioning didn't matter anymore, because like, it doesn't matter where I put my character, you're gonna see me. It made AVX very, very hard for me, especially because I took the X-Men side. And at that point, the only legal X-Men were Wolverine and the X-Men, which we didn't see a lot of this in. And Invincible Iron Man had just come up, and every single Iron Man in that or Avenger in that could see through blocking, could see through hindering. It didn't matter what I was doing, the Avengers were going to see me. It made for a very, very hard and frustrating tournament scene for me. And it just felt like everybody was getting an improved movement or an improved targeting. And I like the idea that they're going to start scaling back on this, where it was great. I love these abilities. They're cool little things that you can add to certain characters, but it doesn't need to be on everyone.
These awesome premium maps, what's going to be a major boon to them is at major tournaments, your Wizkids Opens, your Worlds, your Canadian, U.S., Chilean, Mexican nationals, they're tournament legal. That's a big strength in their favor. And I'm really looking forward to being able to just get these off of the shelf. I think it's totally awesome.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I'm worried about, and it's a minor aesthetic thing, is storage. Hopefully they come with their own tubes.
They roll up and they come in remember the Instagram photo a little while ago?
Yeah, that did have a cardboard box.
They come in a nice little cardboard box, or you can get a poster tube.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys have seen, if we've actually shown it. I think it's shown up on a couple of episodes of Metafix, our bucket of maps that's like this big, filled with 100 maps, because you can fold them up and put them in the bucket.
Hey, at least in the next Modern Age cut, most of those are gone. Okay. So let's move on to goal 4. So yes, awesome premium maps, nothing to argue about with there. And they're going to be great for us filming, because you know what? The light's not going to glare off of them.
On them. They're very pretty.
It's going to be very awesome. So we go to goal 4, clarify the language of the game. Well, this is something we've already seen a bit, but anyway. The goal, which also helps the goal 1, is the one we've been working on the most, and we hope to roll out the results this year. From using consistent language across the various documents to cleaning up information that is no longer valid, we hope to keep it clear, easier to learn, and keep up with the game. To be clear, we are not making major changes to the mechanics themselves, only on how they are described. I emphasize the bold part there. They're not changing how things work. They're just making sure you can understand it, especially if you're new. In some cases, we'll split apart the essence of a mechanic from the details for edge case situations to a more in-depth document, so new players don't get bogged down in issues they don't need to worry about. So they don't need the intricacies of Pulse Wave on the PAC. They need it in this extra part of the book where when you enter a tournament. Where was I? There will be keywords added for key concepts to help communicate the game to all players that will help make the game easier to explain. We will roll out specific examples in the coming months so you can better understand the work we've started. Remember what I said they needed in the game as far as the rules for helping people understand the rules? What was the one word I said? Keywords.
Yeah. Now, this is actually something that in the next coming weeks, I will do an entire Dial It Up episode just on this factor, because we're already starting to see it. We saw it start in Nick Fury. We saw it show up in Superman, and it became a lot more prominent in the World's Finest, where we're going to see equip, effect, unique modifier. These are key phrases. Now, I know they say keywords. This is stuff that we're going to get used to saying keywords, but I'm going to say it as key phrases because we already have keywords in the game. That's what their team affiliations were underneath their name. We already have a keyword thing in the game. I didn't want to confuse anybody. These key phrases are going to be something that instead of having a huge thing of text saying what this does, we just have a key phrase and be, oh, so that's what that's going to do.
They'll probably do like they won't mention specifically in the rule book that these are keywords. We're going to know them as keywords, and we're just going to have to specify when we're talking to you guys on the show character keywords versus keywords of the rule book. I mean, like even Magic the Gathering keywords: tap, untap, upkeep.
It all
raw.
comes down to game language. This is something that almost every game has, are these key phrases, and it's nice to, after 14 years, finally see them show up in HeroClix.
All right, so generally a very positive thing to be discussing. Now this is where Amber and I are going to get a little bit on the opposite side. So this all rolls back to goal number 1. And now let's return to goal 1 with what many will find the most important change of them all. And before we introduce it, we want to share with you how seriously we take it. We've been thinking about implementing this change with the current team for going on 6 years now. We have talked to retailers and players and asked what we can do to make it easier for new players to get into HeroClix. Much of that has been incorporated into the goals above. We've actually seen quite a few new players in the past 2 years in the Greater Toronto area, and we're kind of excited that we have had a number of new players to the game. But the final hurdle we're going to talk about today, the one that turns off a large percentage of what would otherwise be happy new HeroClix players, is the dread of having to memorize the dial. Who has a problem with this?
Why is it necessary?
Anyway, yes, we're implementing visible dials.
Okay, finish reading, and then we'll...
Do I have to read it like I'm intelligent? In order to implement visible dials, we are also taking the opportunity to update the look of our HeroClix character cards. Click the image. Okay, so I'm not going to mention that, but if you go to HeroClix.com and check out the Design Insights article, date stamped today being February 4th, 2016, go take a look at that nonsense. They also put a little thing here. Please note the following. The above image uses a figure from the upcoming Marvel HeroClix Uncanny X-Men set. However, the Marvel HeroClix Uncanny X-Men set will use the current HeroClix card layout. Also note that the new character cards will be the same size as the current character cards. Okay, so we're not going to see an Uncanny X-Men, which reassures me that X23 that we saw is still the standard. Some may argue that memorizing dials isn't that important. Then why not make them visible? Well, that's horrible logic. Or that it is important, but at their store, they let new players look at their dials while they play. Who does what? But ask yourself, I'm pausing for really? But ask yourself, do you actually enjoy memorizing dials? I'll get to that. I'm going to address this paragraph by paragraph when we're done. Do you feel that it is at the heart of what makes the game fun? We believe the joy of the game is in team building, thematic recreation, and the actual decisions one makes during the game. Picture a store with an active, vibrant HeroClix scene. A customer walks into that store and sees a fun, raucous, good time happening. The player walks over and is naturally intrigued by the cool figures and the idea of the game. Inevitably, the dial and the need to know what's on the dial comes up. It feels like homework. Okay, if you've never seen the game of HeroClix, like a chore that must be overcome. And it's at the moment, I'm sorry, it's just, I keep hesitating. I want to yell about things, but I'll go into it in a second. It's at that moment that we have forever lost that player to another game. No, we haven't. Okay. This is not the first time we've done visible dials. Halo, a very popular release. Really? Where's the second set? Had them, and we were constantly asked about our intention to include them in HeroClix. We felt visible dials was something that would help the game for a long time, but we've taken years to talk to stores, judges, and players to ensure our understanding was accurate. Once rolled out, our tournament rules will allow any set that has printed visible dials on the card to be used in a tournament, blah, 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 duh. As we were, okay. I'm going step by step now on this because obviously you saw me pause for as I like to refer to it. All right, so visible dials on the card. Let's talk about this for a second. Why does this need to be a thing, and what does this do for new players? It does nothing, actually, if you think about it. What this does is they've got the picture of the card, and this is a cluttered mess on a 50-point card with 6 standard powers, and a trait and a special power. No, 2 traits. Like, if this is going to be printed, pull up the Wizkids site. We're going to screen share this in a second because you need to see why I'm angry about this. So go back to the thing here, click the green screen share, go to that. Okay, share that. Okay, so I want you to imagine this is at the normal card size of a HeroClix card. Now, you're not going to see me on camera for a second because I'm going to show you all briefly. So we have the name and the picture very big and the keywords underneath. And then we have that little empty block for what would normally be improved abilities. So, hey, there's no improved abilities on this. So we have to clutter up the card with that blank space. That seems unnecessary to me. Next, we have the trait, which would normally be across the top of the card and very readable. Now it's kind of squished into the left, and all these powers are kind of squished on the left, and everything is squished in because you want to show us the dial.
Now, I just want to say right now, I'm personally not wearing my glasses. You guys very rarely see me wear my glasses because they're only for reading. I should be wearing them at my monitor. But as it stands right now, I'm not that far away from my computer. This is my normal, reading at my computer. I can't read what this trait says.
And this is a large version of this.
This is a large version of this. I can't read what this says. I am dreading looking at this at a little, 2x4 card and still not being able to read what this says.
Absolutely. And when you put the print smaller, you've just made the text look more there's more text. You're going to scare people with that. That dial information isn't what's scaring people off. In fact, giving them all that information too soon is crazier as far as game design is concerned, because if I have all that information all at once and I don't have a buffer of, the dial window that we have right now, I'm going to be overwhelmed with all that information on the card. That's not new player friendly. That's the opposite of new player friendly. But anyway, carrying on to, okay, so we can stop the screen share now so that people understand what we're looking at and what we're bringing up here. So the first aspect we want to bring in is this doesn't help anybody who's new to the game. This gives them more information on the card, and that's not attracting anybody, because if a new player comes up to the game and says, what's going on here? Well, if you show them just what's in the window, this is my stats now, that's a better selling point than this is his stats, all the stats on the card. You're just reselling them D&D minis, and I mean, that game gets remade 4 or 5 times just to try to make it work for people. I don't even think there is a current iteration of D&D minis. They just sell D&D minis to attract people to D&D. Attack Wing is its own game, and this has not been a successful thing for any game except for Warhammer. But that Warhammer is already a significant portion of your life. You have to devote yourself to painting it. You have to devote yourself to the rules and the lore of the game to a certain amount of a degree. And there's really a very minuscule competitive market that competitive market is all based on people who have to have painted the figures. So, and this is I have worked for Games Workshop. I kind of understand their philosophies and their design rules and what they do with this game. And one of the things that attracted me to the Wizkids model eventually, because I was paid to make fun of it, I got into it and I was like, well, you mean I don't need to carry my book for Wolverine around? Okay, well, Wolverine stats are there. Okay, so I can still fit it on this card, and then all these colors are already matched in the rule book. Well, these are rules, and there's just the occasional special thing to Wolverine once they introduce the cards. I mean, everything is in that dial window that you need to know at the moment, and that's it. Why do I need to know past that? Right? That's too much information being thrown on the card, and I'm not even talking about the high-level gameplay. That's another beast all itself. So what I'm talking about is if you want to introduce new players, you're not giving them that information all at once. You're supposed to explain to them why the dial window is there. And if these people that are coming across corners oh, what's going on here? Well, it's very simple to explain, well, this is what the character is like now. And if he takes damage, I'm going to move this dial. And then what he looks like after he takes a certain amount of damage is what he looks like right now. That's all I need to know in the moment. And that's the key thing about HeroClix. That's the selling point. And anybody who's not telling people about that is selling it incorrectly. Sorry, you can carry on your thought on that here, hon, because I need to drink.
No, and that's the thing where it's me and Jason are veteran players. We're here from day one, long before cards, where the big selling point of that was, here's this dial. Everything you need to know about this character is on this dial, and it's going to change as they take damage. Now, putting the whole dial on the card itself, why do we need the dial under the character? Is it just going through the motions and clicking the character? Is it just, how far are we from just putting a marker on the actual card itself to tell you which click it's on. Because clearly, with already having this information, why do I need to have that information on the board under my character?
Yeah. And this is what we're talking about. It's what's the appeal of it after we start giving that information. So all I have to do is just move a little sticker. Like me and Amber can take this dial information and throw pennies and quarters on a table and play this game then. All we need is the cards. That's silly. Where's the appeal in that, right? The appeal of this game is having these 3D miniatures on the board. That's the beauty of a miniatures game. And then the ease of use of the Wizkids product, the click dial, is that everything is at face value, and what you need to know in the now is there. Now, we can carry on with this, and I can talk myself in circles. But so let's move on to the next part that they mentioned. Let's get into. We did it in Halo Clix, Halo Action Clix. I'm sorry, you had Halo Action Clix for one set, then you released Hero Clix Halo figures using the Hero Clix dials.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't aware of the Action Clix, much like Horror Clix, was not Hero Clix. It was not the same rule set. It was not the same power set. It was not played the same way. And you did have character cards. And if I'm mistaken, they actually did have counters on the card as to where the damage was? Or am I thinking of a different game?
I think the dial still turned on the figures, but the dial was on the card. But ultimately, there's also a number of things that weren't aspects of that game. There was no range. There was this constant respawn rate. There was a number of things about that game that were, well, I mean, ultimately, it was just bad ideas. And one of them was putting that dial on the card, because really nothing changed on that dial for the most part.
And not even that, is just, once again, to reiterate, is that was a different game.
Yep.
It wasn't what we're looking at here, and what worked for that game or didn't work for that game shouldn't or may not necessarily translate into this already established game based off this secret information. It's just a mechanic that was in a completely different creature, and
a creature that didn't last.
It just doesn't make sense.
I knew 3 people in total who played that game. Myself, some guy who just picked it up a couple weeks ago because he found some cheap figures, and he plays with a friend of his, and another guy locally who, again, just picked up some figures a couple months ago. And
I remember playing Action Clix with Jason when he first got it.
We played one game?
Yeah, 1 or 2 games, and it was like, okay, here, I'm going to teach you this game. And I'm like, but it looks like Hero Clix, but it's not player. Why am I bothering learning to play this when I can just go play Hero Clix that I've been playing for a decade?
Or play Halo. Because it's a lot better than Halo Clix. Okay, Halo Action Clix was just terrible. Like, nothing about the pacing made sense. Nothing about the game made sense. There was, like, it came down to who killed the first thing and then sat on, there's literal spawn camping in this game. Like, they actually implemented spawn camping into a tabletop game. It was not an enjoyable game. Don't copy things that were not, anything that was not successful. It wasn't successful for a reason. And it wasn't because you lost a license, because you got a Halo Hero Clix set. We got that. And I knew people who ate that up. They loved that. I know guys who really still play with those in Golden Age because they were interesting figures, and it was good to be part of this game. But what wasn't carried into those characters was that stupid putting the dial on the card thing. That made no sense in Halo Action Clix. It makes no sense even more for Hero Clix, because also on Halo Action Clix, there's next to no information on the cards. You guys were trying to fill information on the cards. You're forcing information. We need to fill up because this is white paper. Okay, put the dial on there. Who cares anyway, right? Come on. I mean, that is terrible logic in its finest.
Sorry, ranting Jason is really entertaining for me.
Like, seriously, why would you bring up a failed game as an example of a good idea? I love Halo. I was okay with having Halo figures, but the Halo Action Clix game was borderline unplayable. Okay, so let's get to this. Do you actually enjoy memorizing dials? Nobody memorizes the dial unless they're in the high level of play. And that is an important aspect of every game. Amber, you go ahead because I have long stories about this.
Okay. Now, there is maybe one Hero Clix in the 14 years that I have played, in the dozens and dozens of hundreds and hundreds of figures that I have actually memorized. Has that stopped me from playing the game? Does that stop me from having fun playing the game? I never approach this game as I have to remember these dials to play this game. That wasn't an aspect because I absolutely love the fact of not knowing what comes next. That was part of the whole appeal of this game. It was never, I have a brand new set, I have to sit here for 10 hours and remember every one of these dials. Memorization was never a thing for me as a player. Even as a judge, memorization of dials, it boggles my mind that their approach to this was, well, now you don't have to memorize the dials because we're going to give it to you. Memorization just never factored in for me. And part of it, there are characters out there that hope you don't memorize the dials. Their whole appeal of the characters, one of my absolute favorite characters right now is the Riddler from the Batman 66 set, where his riddle me this power hopes that you don't memorize your dials, because that's the whole excitement of playing that character. The Grandmaster that came out in Age of Ultron hopes you don't memorize the dial. There are characters that are specifically designed to not memorize the dial. Why is this even a thing being brought up? Memorization, unless you're very, very high, and even then, there's still... Okay, before I rant too much on that, I think that one of the best things that they did to counteract this whole not needing to memorize the hundreds and hundreds of figures that come out every year was introducing click numbers. For me, that's enough.
That's memorization in its own. That's perfectly fine to have.
That's perfectly fine. That is actually wonderful, where that has itself made me a better strategist in this game, because if I'm based with 3 figures, this guy's on click 1, this guy's on click 4, oh, this guy's on click 7, let's go attack the guy on click 7 because he's likely gonna die. Oh, that character is only 75 points and he's on click 5, good chance he's about to die. That is a factor into the strategy of it, whereas now we're going to be Lockjaw, 25-point Lockjaw. I don't know how many people whose jaw just dropped playing Jason, that 25-point Lockjaw.
5 damage?
5 damage, and he's not dead. But give people this information, have it all laid out for them. It changes the strategy. It actually legitimate, like, we're not just seeing this as like stubborn old men that are playing this game. It literally changes the strategy of the game, seeing the dial, because that character who's on click 5 and now I see his dial, oh, he's got 4 more clicks to go. But that character that's on click 5, he's on his last click, let's go attack that guy. It changes. And one of the things that you will actually see in this game, which is you'll actually see people perplex down their damage.
I'm going to duck your awesome click.
Oh, if I hit you for 3, you're going to get onto your god click, but if I hit you for 2, you're going to be on a really crappy click. All right, perplex down my damage, because I know where you are in your dial, and I know when your dial is going to get good and where it sucks. And I'm going to manipulate the crap out of that.
I mean, that's a low point of the thing. What I want to start my rant with is HeroClix is not unique to having memorization. Memorization is a thing in every single collectible game, whether you like it or not. I tell these people this one story from many, many moons ago when I was about 20 years old playing Magic the Gathering. The idea when I was playing Magic the Gathering is there was memorization to a certain degree. You memorize what decks people are commonly playing, what cards to expect to see play, if not necessarily those decks. Though occasionally a surprise could come up, but for the most part, you'd expect a certain number of cards, a certain number of decks, and be ready for them. And this is at the time of my thinking. So what ends up happening is one guy plays in what I like to, what I'll refer to forever as an off-meta card. Nobody knew or had an idea that this card was going to be showing up. And I actually had to question, look at the card. So when he played the card, I kind of turned it to me to look at it. It's like, do you mind if I look at that? And then he called the judge. I got a warning from a judge for stalling because I had to read a card. I had to come in with the knowledge of that card. Are you out of your mind? Now, they may become a little bit more lenient about it in Magic the Gathering of late. I hope so. But still, being a really high-level player in a card game, be it a collectible card game like Magic versus Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, I don't care. Name the card game. if you're going to be good at the game, you have to know the deck types. You have to memorize the deck types. You have to know within 3 cards on the table what deck you're up against. Because if you don't, you're not going to know how to react immediately. And the thing about HeroClix is the dial memorization is important as a barrier to the high level because of a number of reasons. And one of the most important is there is no other secrets. Like Magic the Gathering, when you draw your cards, you have 7 cards in your hand. If you go second, you draw another. That's 8 cards in his hand. I don't know anything yet. There are 52 cards here. I still don't know anything. There are so many secrets. He plays 1 card. I can take a guess based on the color if it's a specific archetype to be expecting. Okay, so there's now 59 other cards I've got to try to figure out. There's a level of memorization that needs to occur in a card game. And even in HeroClix, everything is at face value on the board. I see all the things that are on there, but there's still a secret element. If I haven't been checking out the game on a regular basis, haven't been paying attention to the metagame, I might not know what's coming up on that dial. Now, that is a skill you need to acquire as a high-level player. And it is expected in the top 16 of Worlds, the top 16 of Iraq, the top 16 of Rock World, whatever. You get to a certain level of play, the expectation is that they all have that memorization, but that's still a skill earned. That's time done that you've to a certain degree understood that. Now, you don't have to memorize to be good all the intricacies of the dial, though it's good knowledge to have. You can just, like Amber said, use the dial number to know how much clicks have got to go into that character. But it's still information that you have to do the work to gain. And that is an important element because there has to be a separation from the casual and the high-level player. Casual players are allowed to play the game. High-level players are allowed to play the game. And eventually a casual player could become a high-level player, but in anything high-level versus casual, there has to be a barrier to entry that they have to cross. They have to get the collection, and they have to get the knowledge gained. They have to earn the knowledge. There has to be earning in order to get up there. You can't, because if you just let all this knowledge out there, leave it all on the table for everybody to get, then this is just craps. This is just gambling. It's
the only thing left is the dice,
and that's really it. Right? If all that knowledge is out there for everybody, then anybody's a champion player, but then that's not a good game, right? Magic the Gathering, the top players can be repeated. The top 8 players can repeat themselves. My understanding is he plays Hearthstone now from what I've seen, but Brian Kibler is a really well-accomplished player because he's good at the game, he's memorized the game, he knows how to play the game. And in HeroClix, we've had Patrick Iboko have a fantastic year of play, consistent fantastic year of play because he went to the barriers and broke through the knowledge, knew how to play, learned how to play. Not only did he play the positioning, but he played the knowledge, and knowledge has to be a skill earned in this game. And I feel that element is something you're going to take away if you put this dial on the card, and then you've got no earning to do in order to get to high level play. Is just chuck the dice and put your figures. I mean, I personally think placing your figure is an important element. Yes, and you have to know how to place your figures, but to a certain degree, you should know what you're placing against. But you have to earn that knowledge ahead of time. That is knowledge gained. That's research that you have to do, and that's research that you have to have ready in your head, not sitting in front of you at the table at face value. I don't flip the entire Magic deck over for you to play to see it ahead of time. That's a deck list, but that's still not, that's time that's consumed, right? And I don't think you carry your deck list to every single game, if I remember correctly. Like, there has to be some level of surprise in the game, otherwise you're not, like, there's a level of earn and a level of ownership, like a level above that has to be up there somewhere. There has to be a barrier to entry for high level and low level. That's that. I mean, and let's get into the casual player having the surprise. I can't tell you how awesome it is to come across a click and it's like, he has 1 attack now. I just took 6 damage. Are you kidding? In fun games, it's like, why is this guy 13 with 6? He's a hobbit, or something to that line. Like that is a fantastic feeling. But if that's on the card, it's just like, well, okay, I took 4 damage. I'm gonna have this awesome click now. Yay! Where's the awesome in that?
Where's the excitement?
There has that's one of the wonders of this game. There's a certain level of excitement that came from it. Barriers to entry, excitement is required. Anything else you want to add to that, Amber? while I find out the next thing.
Well, it's something that they said actually earlier in the article is that they want to make this game. They want to make this game better. They want to do better for the players. They want to do better for the veteran players and not just the newer players. And this is, okay, great for the newer players. Brand new people coming into this game don't know any different. That'll be what HeroClix is for them. But this feels like, and we've gotten quite a lot of boom from the community just once this dropped, the voices came out, and this is alienating the already huge player base that you have here, and it's separating the players where certain players are getting ready to just walk away, and it becomes what do you want out of this? Which direction do you want to go with this game where you're opening it up for all these new players, but how many players are you losing in the process? And is there a way to balance this to keep your existing fan base happy while also expanding it and growing it to new players? And it feels like this may be a step in the wrong direction.
Now, I want to explain why I also think this is a step in the wrong direction. I have been talking to two players. We're talking 6 months into the game now. Their names are Will and Paul. They've been playing for just under a year, but they both kind of figured out, the game to a certain amount of a degree. But they're still new players. They still have a lot to learn, but they're catching on very quickly. So I showed both of them this article, and I wanted specifically to ask them about the new idea on the card. Now, this is two new players that you're trying to attract into this game. First one, I like the new look. It updates it and gives it a refreshing new look. However, I personally don't like being able to see upcoming clicks. I feel like it would make the game more predictable. Like if I'm on click 5, my opponent can see whether I'm almost dead or still have more to go. So it would make it so my opponent knows what to risk and would take away the element of surprise and the fun of taking risks. That's half of what he said. The rest of it, he liked the aesthetically and adding certain things. He had the same concerns about alignment that I had. Also, player Paul, he says, not a fan of the dial listed on the card, mostly due to some of the specialized powers and stop clicks. Plus, the pick takes a little too much space. Okay, that's some more alignment things. So, I mean, the general consensus the consensus of two new players, the guys that you're trying to get into the game, they don't think it makes sense. I mean, and we're going to be going straight to our fans, and if you are watching this right now, we do want to hear your opinion. Facebook.com/marriedwithclicks. We have 2 posts for this, one where we initially announced that we were going to say that we're doing this, and one with the link to the video that you're watching right now. If you want to throw a comment on there, your opinion on it, we will share and name your name on it, and just so that people get an idea of what people are saying, because we want to hear as many opinions on this as we possibly can. If you like it, we don't care. We'll share. Yeah. You're allowed to like the idea, or you're also allowed to be indifferent to the idea. We're going to make sure that we stress this, because something's got to happen here.
We want the voices.
We want the voices of the players. We want to hear as much, and we want to share. We want you guys to use us as your soapbox. We're here for you guys because we want Wizkids to actually know. We are hoping, and if I have to share this on somebody's wall who works for Wizkids, I'm going to make sure that this gets heard. This is important information, and if I get hated and we get copyright stricken, well, they already told me what they want out of me. I mean, trust me, what we want is for the better of the game. And the appeal of the game is that surprise element and the factor of things. Now, if this has something to do with your new board game designer or board game lead, send him to me because we can have a long conversation about this. Wizkids is doing a fantastic job, as I've said in the past, with a game that has quite a few design flaws. But for what they have, they've been doing an amazing job of keeping this game to a certain degree of expectation. And I honestly applaud them for all the hard work that they've been doing, but I haven't been this upset about a change since Feat Cards. And even Feat Cards, I played. I'm not going to stop playing because of this.
I want to stress this. A lot of people, or not a lot of people, but I have seen the voices come up where it's like, does this really change it? And I want to stress this is a change. This is possibly not drastic as much as we are making it, although we feel it's a very drastic change. This is the biggest change that has happened to this game since they introduced the cards, since they got rid of REVs, since they introduced the cards. This is a fundamental change to the game.
We just got a suggestion from some of the high-level players. This is getting around, guys. The information out here is around. We have a suggestion. Tweet Wizkids, and the hashtag being Wizkids no dials on cards.
So you guys, even if you don't comment on here, if you want to get your voices heard, there has been someone saying bug them on Facebook, tweet them. That's going to get directly to them. Hey, they have an Instagram now. However, that works. I don't know Instagram. There are social ways to get our voices out here. There is a change.org petition going around.
I signed it. I don't care. Anything, as long as the information gets out that there's people out there that don't agree with this. And there are people out there who are enthusiastic about the game and don't agree about this. There's people who are new to the game and don't agree with this change. It's a drastic change that fundamentally ignores the design reason for the dial in the first place. The dial exists for a reason, and it is a simplification of the game. You just have to look at it in the correct manner. And somebody at Wizkids right now is not seeing that. The fact that what you need to know is at face value at the moment is an important element to the HeroClix game. And if we start changing that, you're not playing HeroClix anymore. You're just playing D&D with superheroes, and that's I can play D&D with superheroes. I don't want to play that. I love the game that we have right now. I love the element of the competitive element. I love the casual element. I love getting surprised by my own characters when I'm first trying them out. I love the idea of having to do some research, know dial numbers, know what's coming for me as far as the competitive game is concerned. And I do accept that, you're not supposed to be able to grab a starter, grab 8 packs, and get into competitive play. That's not a competitive environment. You have to get good at the game. You do have to hit the barriers. And one of those barriers is knowing what you're playing against. So, with that said,
you're hearing my Facebook go off.
Yeah, if you're probably hearing Amber's Facebook go off because we've implored you guys. By all means, we want to hear, and like I said, we're gonna let your voices be heard as much as we can let them be heard through this. So, Amber, if you want to check what you have, because my iPad has a couple updates. Wow, is this all?
Not all of it is us.
That's not all of us. Okay.
I have been talking.
We've been on social media. Well, Amber's been a little bit more active on the social media herself. I've been talking in personal conversations with a lot of people. One of the first people to address me was Patrick Iboko, who said, we got to get on this. I mean, I know quite a few high-level players are on the petition that's on change.org. And I know a lot of people look at those petitions and go, whatever. But to a certain degree, because this hasn't been implemented yet, and it isn't actually implemented in Uncanny X-Men, we have time. We have time to tell them that what they're doing isn't quite the correct direction. They're halfway there. A new card design could be neat, but honestly, this dial on the card thing isn't the right direction. So we have, excuse me.
Do you want to go from here? Or
I got it right here. Okay. This all matches up. So guys, again, facebook.com/marriedwithclicks. Look for any of the posts, the comments. If you want to message the page directly, get it to us. We will repeat your thoughts, uncensored. So, I mean, if you want to hear me say some nasty words, by all means, just make sure it's relevant to the issue at hand. So I want to start with Chris Stockhouse, a regular contributor to the Metal Lab. He does have a question and a topic for us to discuss every week. So we can probably put a stamp on this episode too, eh?
Stockhouse approved.
Stockhouse approved question. It seems like adding the dials to the cards would be great for a quick start kit for new players, but not for everything else too. In my head, it would seem like I was playing a completely different game with all that known information right at my and my opponent's fingertips. Some people play slow already. Imagine giving them all your cards for 20 minutes while they figure out how to take the best 3 actions to put you on your worst click or just KO you with the perfect uses of perplex. One thing I do like, however, is the new layout of the cards. We've been looking at,
nice.
at basically the same layout for the cards since the Legion starter set came out. They were due for a change. Wayne Hero Clix, the dials in the cards, please no, stop it. Stop it. It will slow down the game. There's a constant checking and always takes away the magic of not knowing by heart your opponent's dial. Jeff Bozeman, another regular contributor to a lot of podcasts, very active in the podcast community as far as a fan goes. I have no problem with the implementation of the dials on the cards. So now people can memorize dials in attempts that can't memorize dials in attempts to gain an upper hand. So what? If that's how you play, then you need to pick a new strategy. Also, this change is equal across the board. I think with the dials being visible on the card will actually speed up play because players will have greater knowledge when preparing as to how many clicks certain pieces now have. As you can tell, myself and Amber, we disagree with you. You're allowed to have your opinion. And Jeff Bozeman, we do respect that. Though, as I mentioned, my reasons as to what it's not just having a leg up on everybody by memorizing dial. You just put yourself on par with the high-level players, in my opinion. Sorry. So Christopher Smotherman, formerly known as Obi-Wan Chris, timed turns are next. At least they need to be, especially with dials on cards. That's a little dystopian view because we want to start a movement somehow to just tell Wizkids that this isn't a very good idea. Patrick Imbo from Ottawa, we've met him several times. Wonderful person to talk to. I agree. This will definitely increase the time a turn takes. I can already see someone asking to constantly see my cards. So if I hit you for 3, can I see your card? Okay, so I can hit you onto this power, but then this other guy over here will hit you for 2, and he's dead. Okay, give me your other card. Like that's the kind of thing to expect to happen. Yeah. I mean, at that point, you might as well memorize your own cards, and there's memorization involved, and just throw your cards at your opponent. Just let them have it, because that's still a level of memorization because you want to speed up the turn somehow, right? The turn has become very, very long as it stands with the inception of resources, the inclusion of entities, and then apparently entities are not going away as they've been turned to equipment and do continue to get made. Entities are just a thing that are going to be in the game, and just you have to deal with the stuff at the beginning of the turn. And now we're adding the fact that I got to take your cards and be like, okay, well, this is what the dial looks like, and I can start planning my pushes around my entity even if they continue to make entities with these full knowledge dials. I mean, they're limiting themselves with what's on the card. Sorry, I've gone a little further because we are out of comments. If you have more that you want heard on the channel, by all means, facebook.com/marriedwithclicks, send us something. Let us know. We will share it. But one of the other things about this is if there's, what was I was on a thing about no secrets, entities, information. Like it's anyway, you look like you had something to say because you covered your mouth and you're like, oh!
Sorry, I had a really nerdy moment of if you guys are Twitter enthusiasts and you use hashtags, keep it secret, keep it safe. Come on, guys.
No,
yeah.
let's go with no dials on the cards right now. It's already started, so it sounds like a pledge drive here. And honestly, I don't think dial memorization is an only thing. But it is one of multiple barriers of entry into the competitive world, and you can't make it too easy to get into competitive play. Every game has its barriers. Go ahead.
The article said, specifically addressed, does memorizing the dials make the game fun for you? No, but you know what does make the game fun for me? Not knowing my dials.
Surprise clicks!
That's legitimately a fun factor for this game. Not knowing, the not knowing element, the taking the gamble, the taking the risks. If I push, do I die? Is it a good push? Can I take 1 click to deal this guy 3 clicks? Is that going to be worth it? And like Patrick had mentioned, where it's like, okay, let me see your dial. So this guy's going to push. That'll put him on to this stat, but then that'll put you down to that stat. Okay, I guess that's a cool gamble. I hope the dice work because now that's the only missing information now. Yeah,
the dice roll. And again, you can look at it and say, well, the high-level players already memorized, but they had to earn that information. That's a skill they're taking away for the high level, and that means that not everybody's allowed to play all the games in the pro level. Not everybody makes it into the pro circuit in Magic. Not everybody makes it into the highest level of play in Yu-Gi-Oh. Not everybody gets in, and not everybody comes in good. There has to be something that divides good players, casual players, etc. And honestly, at the casual end, I've heard just as many casual players as competitive players kind of go, "This is the worst idea ever," and I have to agree that, yes, Halo Action Clix was the worst idea ever. I'm ragging on that game so hard.
Now,
go ahead.
To kind of step away from the doom and gloom, and as Jason said, we are very appreciative of the only reason why we're so passionate and why we're so upset about this is because we love this game so much. We want WizKids to succeed with this game. We want this company to go forward. We want to see this go on for more years and years and not have a fallout. And part of that is why we're so passionate on this. But now, doom and gloom aside, the end of HeroClix aside, there are certain things that if this becomes a thing, if our voices can't sway them, if this just becomes where HeroClix goes, there's certain things that are going to have to happen, or that we would definitely like to see happen if this is the way that HeroClix is going to go. And part of that is...
I know something that's going to have to happen.
Sharpies. Sorry. Part of this is what I would like to see is an actual official WizKids database of characters. They've done an amazing job with upgrading the Wizkids site. I believe they're currently working on upgrading the HeroClix.com itself, the WES, the event system, all of the steps forward that they've been making is amazing. And I think if we're already going to have all this information, why not put all this information into a collection? Give them a database, even if it doesn't have a team builder or whatever, what all these apps and HC Realms do for us. Just having a place to go look all of this stuff to mitigate the problems that we've had with print and play. And that's another thing, is that we've heard even directly from Justin Zirin that print and play is not getting updated. It's going to go away. We can speculate all we want as to exactly why. I'm pretty sure there's legal information in there with copyright issues. He even discouraged players themselves to stop making print and play. I hope that if this is direction they go, that print and play stays, that it gets updated with these new cards, that we're going to start being able to use print and play, because it's going to be a huge disadvantage now, especially with so much information on the cards, that we're going to need a print and play if quality control isn't up to par. And now, something that Jason said as a game programmer, to me, as not a game programmer, is when you play a brand new video game and you come across a glitch, there's a good chance that the QA testers knew about that glitch. But because it didn't break the game, they let it slide. So there is certain amounts of quality control that we have to expect from a mass production as such as HeroClix. So when we get wrong dials, we get wrong cards. It was explained once that these are all done in different factories. So when you say ballparking, we'll say 5 different factories. This one does the dial, this one does the cards, this one does the figure, and then this one over here puts it all together. All these moving parts together someplace isn't always going to work, and we end up with missing cards or the wrong cards. And the programs that we have in place right now, the product replacement program, is great unless you have a chase. If it's your chase that gets screwed up, sorry guys. And that's something that a lot of players are upset about, and it's something that I don't know if it's going to change, but especially if we're going on this way where the card becomes more important than the dial, give us a way to replace these cards. Give us a way to either print them out ourselves or have a program in set to just not even replace the figures, just give us the cards that we're missing. Because now that all this information is going to be here for us, it's a distinct disadvantage for someone who doesn't have the card for the figure, where okay, now I don't know what's coming up on that dial. Now my opponent doesn't know. Now I can't play that figure because I don't have the dial on the card. But yeah, sorry. This is where my head is just spinning going on this, where it's like, I can accept that this is going to happen. I don't know how long I'll keep playing the game if this is going to happen, but certain steps may need to be put in place for this to smoothly work.
If it gets relegated to starter set figures, you'll never hear a complaint out of me.
No.
I personally don't think it makes that significant a difference because dial memorization is not a thing for everybody. It is really just something that high level or super competitive players do. And again, Wizkids hasn't provided us with a tool to do it either. So obviously, it's been okay this far. I mean, nobody is really weeping about this that I know of. And anybody who says this is great for new players, I mean, they've never seen a player overwhelmed with information. There's no new player who comes into HeroClix who says, well, why don't I know everything on the dial? Your immediate answer should be, well, that's kind of the idea. You know what you're like now, and you'll get hit, and then you'll be different. And that's just how comic books work. And that has worked for this game for this long. And I think I've said it enough times at this point. We'll check the Facebook one more time. If you do, again, facebook.com/marriedwithclicks. If you have everything else you want heard out there, but I feel like we've made our point as far as this is concerned. We're there. We're on the border, and if there's something we can do to stop this, get everybody mobilized, get the voices heard that don't want this. Because one of the things that you got to understand is the people who aren't complaining about it aren't in favor of it overall. They're just not against it, right? And that's one of the things is you have the compliant crowd and you have the vehemently don't want it crowd. There is no, the people who are asking for this, there's got to be 6 people at a bar got drunk and told somebody who works at Wizkids. It's the only way I can possibly think of that making any level of sense to me. Yeah. So guys, thank you guys. We had a ton of viewers watching live, more than we usually get live. I guess you guys really wanted to hear our thoughts on this, and we want to thank you for joining us. This will of course be archived on YouTube. So if you stumble across it, we put the date that the article went up on and what we're referencing in this. We mentioned the article. We showed the card on this. Overall, our thoughts are we're very passionate about this particular thing. This is a thing we don't want to see happen to the game because it doesn't make it a lick of sense for HeroClix. To me, to you, it doesn't make a great deal of sense. So 4 out of 5 is not bad on the article.
We love everything else about it.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're only so upset because we love this game so much.
Yeah. And we hope that we've been reasonable enough about it, except for I apologize for my digs at Halo Action Clix, but it's just so bad. The figures look so cool though. But honestly, guys, let us know your thoughts if past this point. Email us, marriedwithclicks@gmail.com. Message us on our Facebook group our Facebook fan page, facebook.com/marriedwithclicks. What else do we have? Follow us on Twitter. Talk to us on Twitter. Talk at us on social media, whatever way you feel comfortable. Get your opinions out. Tomorrow, if you're watching live, or at some point, if you're watching the archive, the next video we're going to have is going to be the Patron Hangout. And chances are we're going to get a chance to get passionate about this again, as I'm sure they'll want to know some more ideas, some more opinions from us on the whole ordeal that's going on right now. But in the meantime,
thanks for watching.
Thanks for
listening to us rant. We're sorry we ranted, but
it's been a rough week.
As it's been shown with the voices that we have heard, with the new players, with the higher players, and we're not even cherry picking these people. We full on showed you the comments of people that are okay with it, that are on board with it, and every opinion counts because majority rules. We just want to We want these voices, whether they're good, bad, angry, indifferent. We want the voices out there. We want to know.
All right, folks. Have a good night, and practice makes you better. Not memorization.